Okay, Mayor, we are live.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Perth East Council meeting this Tuesday, the 18th of May. I'll call the meeting to order, and if everyone could please bow their heads for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We need a motion to confirm the agenda. Is there anything anyone wishes to add to the agenda at this time? Nope. Okay, so a motion to confirm the agenda moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose it now or as the meeting goes along. We have 18 items under our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like to have pulled? Amanda?
Item 5.1.3.
Okay. Hugh?
Uh, 5.1.18.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Amanda, do you have a question to ask then on?
I have a comment and perhaps if anyone has a comment back, I'm all ears. Just looking over the notes, the meeting minute notes for the library board. Two items, two motions I wanted to mention. So the one with regards to making this library CEO a permanent position without doing an organizational review. Just find it a bit concerning and just wondering why we're sort of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, and having sort of that justification for taxpayers as to why that's moving forward without an organizational review. So that's just one concern. And then the other one is more sort of want to let the library board know about the resources that we have at the township. So I noted that that the CEO would be creating HR policies and procedures, and just want to let everyone know and remind everyone that we have Cindy at our disposal that has the proper HR credentials and professional designations. Which I think is imperative when you're creating HR policy. So, I mean, again, I don't know if our current staff has those designations or not, but just wanted to let the library board know that we have those resources and would strongly encourage them to utilize that resource at their disposal.
Okay. Jeremy, do you have a question on the same thing, or will let Alec answer the questions?
No, I just had a question about what Amanda was saying. I'm trying to find in the minutes where it says that we were making that, trying to have a full-time CEO before the org review is done. I don't see it in the minutes, that's all.
All right, I'll read it. So there's several motions. So the one says that, okay, 1 second, bear with me here. So this would be on page 16. So on number 4, business arising from closed session. So if everyone's following that. So they're requesting that the township proceeds with an organizational review. And then underneath that, it says, and that essentially that the library CEO position doesn't hinge solely on the outcome of the organizational review. And then the other comment that I made was with respect to another motion that says that the library CEO develops a policy and procedure for human resource matters, including the proper chain of command and reporting employment concerns. And again, that's on page 16 and 17, I believe.
Right. No, and I see that too. I just didn't see where we were where it was necessarily saying that we were trying to make that a full-time position or whatever change was happening. I didn't quite see what you were seeing, I guess, by putting the cart before the horse. It sounds like we're trying to do an org review, and then we're stating that the position doesn't depend on the org review. It seems to me like they're in the right order here, that's all. But
it doesn't, the way it interprets to me, the way that I read it is that, and again, perhaps it's just the way that the motion is worded, that, perhaps Ali can provide some clarification or anyone else on the board can provide some clarity, is that they want the organizational review, but that the CEO position doesn't hinge solely on the org review, which that wording to me is the way I interpret it is that they still want to move forward with making that a full-time position without knowing the results of the org review. So I guess that's why I'm bringing it up, because I want to get some clarity, because that's how I interpret that. However, that might not be the case.
Okay, Ali?
Yeah, thanks for the discussion and the questions. So I will provide some clarity here. So we are proceeding with the org review with the consulting firm SelectPath, and the township as well has agreed to help facilitate this process. In regards to the second motion, the board wanted to ensure that this was in here because there has been a lot of discussion that has happened since the original discussion about the position at the budget meeting. So I think there's just a lot of historical information that's been involved in initiating this action of having the CEO position be converted to full-time. So what the motion is saying here is that we're proceeding with the org review, but that it's not just the org review that will decide the conversion of the CEO position. There will also be other information that's gathered to inform that decision. Does that clarify? And Jerry and Hugh, you can also provide some context around this if needed.
It does and it doesn't, because I think what's the point of doing an org review if the org review says one thing and it says, hey, we don't need a full-time, again, hypothetically speaking, if we don't need a full-time position, and then the board still decides to make it full-time, which is in your purview to do so, what other metrics would you be using to gather that information to make that decision? I guess that's, you certainly have provided some clarity on that, but I just find it confusing as to, if we're going to do the org review, I just want to ensure that that's actually happening before big decisions are being made, because I think that there needs to be that justification for taxpayers. And we know that for other matters with council that, sometimes, we have to do studies and plans and things like that to justify, what we want to do. And we have to make sure that, that is the findings that end up coming up in the report.
Yeah, absolutely, Amanda. And thanks for those comments. I will note that in motion 67 on page 16 as well, that the PEPLB is also going to have a market review completed of all library employees. So that will also be part of sort of informing that decision. And absolutely the org review will be completed before they proceed with making any decisions. And it has also been recommended that they don't proceed with the org review until Kendra Roth, who is permanently in this position, returns, which is coming up. So that's where we're at with the process.
Okay, and then the second question that Amanda had was about the human resource matter.
So that was direction given to me by the library board to develop some, because the library currently doesn't have any of their own human resources policies. And there were some concerns around how the library CEO was being paid and sort of docking their time in lieu. So they wanted to make sure that if there were employment concerns from any library employees in the future, that they have a proper chain of command and a process to follow if a similar situation was to happen in the future. So I can certainly work with Cindy to help develop these, but I know that Cindy also has a lot of other projects that she's working on with the township. So as the CEO, I was just following the direction of the board, but absolutely, these policies won't just be developed and slapped together. They will, have to go through the approval of the board, et cetera. So.
Right. And I just wanted to make sure that the board, and for those listening and tuning in, are aware of the resource that we have with Cindy, and just the importance of making sure that, either Cindy or another HR professional is included in making those policies. It's really important. There is legislation and things like that need to be followed, and it's imperative that that is done properly. So I certainly can appreciate the board's concern, but we have had that resource with Cindy, and I just want to clarify and let people know that, again, we have that resource with her, and she is at our disposal no matter how busy she is with her other projects here at Perth East.
Okay, thank you. So we will now, we need a motion to accept items 5.1.1 to 5.1.17. Moved by Andrew, second by Jerry, me. All in favor? Sorry, Jeremy, carried. Okay, now Hugh asked for 5.18 to be pulled. Hugh, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I think it'd be wise if anybody has any questions or concerns about that they would send them to the township and to you, Rhonda, so that when you go on the webinar and things like that, if there's questions or anything like that, you can bring that up. Or if people have some specific points about any of the issues there, that they would that you would be able to bring them up.
Okay, so what date should we put up?
Sorry?
What date do you want the comments made by?
I believe it's June the 1st, because I forget the date that you're going on that webinar. So probably June the 1st would be good.
Yeah, I'm going on the 4th, I believe it is. Okay.
Yep.
So do you want to make that a motion?
I would make that a motion.
Okay, moved by Hugh. It was seconder. Daryl. So just to bring everybody up to speed, Daryl and Hugh and Teresa and I went to Barrie. They had consultations, a good year ago, I think it was. And then we went to London as well, and it was all on the conservation areas. And now they put all the material together, and this is the second chance to make some more comments on what they're going to do with the Conservation Act. So, okay, so if everybody would have their comments in by the 1st of June, that would be appreciated. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations. We do have public meetings. The first public meeting that we're going to have tonight is just for County Council. So it's just for Hugh and Daryl and myself. And it has to deal with a public meeting. So I declare this public meeting to be open. This public meeting, excuse me, with members of Perth County Council.
Sorry, Mayor Agates. Sorry, can you just make the motion for Perth East to adjourn to sit as County Council?
Oh, I'm
first?
sorry. Yes. Okay.
That's okay. Thanks.
Sorry, Ashley. So we need a motion, first of all, that the council of the Township of Perth East adjourn for the purpose of a public meeting of Perth County Council, and will recommence immediately following the closing of the public meeting. So we need a motion to do that. Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll go into the public meeting. So I declare this public meeting to be open. This public meeting with members of Perth County Council is being held to consider a proposed amendment to the County of Perth official plan affecting property currently owned by Samuel Zaire, Part Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2 of 44R 1409 3942 Perth Line 72 Millbank. This meeting is an opportunity for the County of Perth to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering the amendment to the County of Perth official plan and the adoption of the implementing bylaw for the amendment. If an amendment is adopted to implement the official plan amendment, notice of the adoption will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail or email to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board objecting to the adoption of the amendment may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person present who wishes to receive written notice of the amendment to the County of Perth official plan is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk at this time. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. All persons attending this meeting will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. I will now call on County of Perth Planner, Susanna Reed, to present the planning report and recommendations. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mary Guts. So in the agenda for tonight, you will be receiving comments with regards to this amendment later on. The purpose of this part of the public meeting is in order to receive comments from the public in order to inform the County of Perth's decision with regards to OPA 196. This is a property east of Millbank, located at 3942 Perth Line 72. The property is about 2.4 acres, and it's designated infilling in the County of Perth official plan with a special zone HVR-1. There is the proposal from the applicants is to create a home industrial use. And that home industrial use is the repackaging of hay bales to prepare a product for small domestic animals such as rabbits, guinea pigs, and hamsters. So the applicants are proposing to build an accessory building, a shop to repackage the hay bales, and that will be about 4,600 square feet. So as I understand the structure of the meeting, that this part of the meeting is to receive comments from the public.
Okay. No one registered to speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Caroline Baker, agent, has registered to speak on behalf of the official plan amendment application, and Samuel Zaire, applicant, has registered to answer questions. Caroline, are you there?
Good evening. Yes, good evening, Your Worship. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Caroline Baker. I'm a planner with Baker Planning Group, and we are representing the owner of the property, subject to both the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications. As noted by Ms. Reed, they are seeking the amendments to permit the construction of a workshop for the purposes of a home industry. The owners do live on the existing house on the property and are looking to grow their family business of repackaging local hay bales. And to support that home industry, they are seeking the 430 square meter workshop. And just to provide a little bit of additional information on their business and the use, essentially the workshop would be divided into three components. One would be for hay storage, one would be for sorting and repackaging, as well as an office space. Employees would be limited to those family members living on the property. However, they have requested site-specific regulations to permit one additional part-time staff. I believe that would be at most 2 days a week to assist during their busier seasons. Equipment is limited to balers, a heat sealer, scales, and a hydraulic power pack. I would note there's no retailing function, so there's no day-to-day people coming back and forth to buy any product, and deliveries would be limited to once per week. In support of the applications, on behalf of the applicant, we did submit a planning justification report as well as a noise assessment. And the noise assessment was undertaken through the ministry's NPC 300 guidelines and concluded that the proposed sound levels from the home industry were all within ministry limits to the surrounding sensitive land uses, being the residential properties on line 72. The workshop has also been situated such that the rear yards of the adjacent residential properties would not have a view from their backyard looking north to the workshop. It's been offset to the east so that they continue to maintain their view to the agricultural area. And the planning justification report concluded that the amendments are appropriate in the public interest and represent good land use planning, as it'll provide for the efficient use of land within an infilling area that can be serviced by private services and has road access. As you can see from the general area, the site is actually quite a bit larger than the surrounding properties. And the proposed development with the workshop is at about 10% lot coverage, while the zoning permits up to 30%. So still only using a small portion of the site. The report also concluded that it would support the creation of economic development and the potential of 3 or 4 local jobs as consistent with provincial policy on economic diversification. And I also want to note that the property is outside any designated prime agricultural lands. And through the official plan amendment, there would be no loss of agricultural lands, as well as no new lots being created in the infilling area. The report finally concluded that the proposed development is in keeping with the rural character and compatible with the adjacent residential uses in light of the noise study and the proposed setbacks. That concludes my presentation. Hope I didn't speak too fast, but here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Mr. Zaire, do you wish to say anything? No? Okay. Are there any questions from members of Perth County Council? You or Daryl? No, I have one question. You talk about the family members that are going to live in the house will be working there. How many family members will be in the house?
To your worship, my understanding based on our background discussions with the owner is that there would be at most 3 people that would be living in the house that would be working at the workshop. And then the 1 potential part-time employee 2 days a week.
Okay, thank you. Any more other questions? Nope, seeing no questions. The Perth County, we have a motion that the Perth County public meeting adjourn. So I need Daryl or Hugh. Moved by Daryl. Second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the County of Perth public meeting is now concluded, and as per the previous resolution, the Township of Perth East Council meeting will now recommence. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is 7.1.2 zoning bylaw amendment. I declare this virtual meeting to be open. This virtual meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Samuel Zaire. Part Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R 1409, 3942, Perth Line 72, Millbank. This virtual public meeting is an opportunity for the Township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of an implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending this meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested by email following the meeting. Due to COVID-19, the public meeting procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, May 17, 2021 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. I will now call on Township Planner Susanna Reed to present the planning report and recommendations. Susanna?
Thank you very much. So continuing from Carolyn Baker's comment, then this public meeting is for the implementing zoning bylaw for the same property, the Zare property, which is east of Millbank. And later on tonight yet, you'll receive planning comments with regards to the official plan amendment. So as Carolyn outlined, there was a planning justification report submitted by the Baker Planning Group. And that provided detail with regards to the proposed zoning for the subject property. So again, like the official plan amendment, the zoning bylaw amendment is required in order to permit a home industrial use for the repackaging of hay bales. So there are a number of provisions that are proposed for this special zone, and that includes restricting the range and scale of the home industrial use to only permit the packaging of hay bales, a maximum size of the proposed building for the business of 430 square meters, a specific provision with regards to the lot coverage of the accessory buildings being 8%, a restriction to the number of off-site employees, and as Carolyn reviewed, that would be a maximum of 1 off-site employee, and increased yard setbacks to 20 meters. And as Carolyn had reviewed, that the intention there is to ensure the location of the home industry is suitable to or mitigates impacts from the neighboring neighbors, or more specifically, my understanding is so as to advise the neighboring landowners as to where the home industrial use will be. So as a county official plan amendment is required for this property before the zoning bylaw amendment is approved, the planning department's recommendation is that council receive the planning report for the rezoning application and then approve the first and second reading of the application for rezoning and defer the third reading of the application for rezoning until Perth County Council has considered the application for OPA 196. And that's because the County Council is the decision-making authority for the official plan amendment, and Perth East is the decision-making authority for the zoning bylaw amendment. The application was circulated, and you can see in the planning report comments were no comments were received. A number of agencies responded to indicate they didn't have any comments. And then there are comments from the building department and the fire chief with regards to site plan comments. So site plan will be required for this property as well. Those are the planning comments, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Caroline Baker, agent, has registered to speak on behalf of application Z03-2021 PE. Samuel Zare, applicant, has registered to answer questions. Caroline?
To your worship, I believe I'll let the comments for the official plan apply to both the official plan and the zoning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? Nope. Okay. Council will consider a resolution regarding the plan report recommendation following the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. The virtual public meeting is now concluded and will continue with the regular meeting of council. Bylaw number 203-2021 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered. So we do have a motion that says the council of the Township of Perth East received the report dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment number Z03-2021 PE, submitted by Samuel and Mary Zare, affecting lands described as part of Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R, 1409, 3942, Line 72, Millbank, Township of Perth East. And that council approved the first and second reading of the zoning bylaw amendment for Samuel Mary Zare, affecting lands described as part of Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R, 1409, 3942, line 72, Millbank, Township of Perth East, and that council defer the third reading of the zoning bylaw amendment for Samuel and Mary Zare, affecting lands described as part of Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R, 1409, 3942, line 72, Millbank, Township of Perth East, to allow Perth County Council to consider OPA 196 affecting the subject lands. So we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Daryl. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we move to public hearings. We have one public hearing. Council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as Committee of Adjustment pursuant to Section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this virtual public hearing open. This virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Ezra Wagler and described as part of Lot 6, Concession 3, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, 6458 Perth Road, 131, Milverton. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Due to COVID-19, public hearing procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, May 17, 2021 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer following this hearing. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed with the Secretary Treasurer not later than June 7th, 2021. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on Township Planner Susanna Reed to present the planning report and recommendations. Susanna?
Thank you very much. This property is south of Milverton on Perth Road 131. It's just a bit more than half an acre in size, and it is designated urban fringe and zoned Hamlet Village Residential Special. There is a house on the property now, and the applicant, Ezra Wagler, is applying for a variance from the zoning bylaw in order to construct a shed and accessory building that is larger than permitted by the accessory provisions in the Perth East zoning bylaw. So there are two variances requested. One is to increase the footprint of the accessory building to be more than 5% of the lot coverage. And the second is in order to prevent the height of the building to be taller than 4.5 meters. The application is requesting a maximum height of 5.54 meters. So the four tests of a minor variance are reviewed in the planning report. And the report concludes that the application meets the intention of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The garage is proposed to be situated at the back of the property, surrounded by mature trees. No comments from the neighboring property owners were received through the circulation. I'm just checking with the clerk. Have there been any comments received since the report was prepared? No. And the planning department is of the opinion that the height and size of the building is appropriate for the design of the structure and the size of the lot, and that it's appropriate development for the property. As the application for minor variance meets the tests outlined in the Planning Act, the planning department is recommending that the application be approved with two conditions. One is that the building be constructed within 2 years from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official. And the second is that the building be constructed in the location identified on the plan submitted with the application.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Ezra Wagler, applicant, registered to speak in respect to the application. Mr. Wagler? Hello, Mr. Wagler?
Oh,
Hello? The floor is yours if you wish to make comments to the committee.
no, I'm good.
No? Okay. Are there any questions from the committee members? Seeing no questions, committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. The motion is that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment receive the report dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the planner entitled Minor Variance Application Number A03-2021 PE by Ezra Wagler, affecting lands described as Lot 6, Concession 3, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, 6458 Perth Road, 131 Milverton, and that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application A03-2021 PE to permit a detached structure with a maximum height as defined in the Perth East zoning bylaw of 5.6 meters with the following conditions: that the owner applicant complete construction of the proposed structure within 2 years from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official, and that the owner applicant construct proposed structure in the location as identified on the plan submitted with the application. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Hugh. Second by Daryl. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Okay, I declare this virtual public hearing closed. Okay, next on our agenda is the 8.1.2 application for an amendment to the county official plan by Samuel and Mary Zare. Susanna? Oh, Hugh, sorry.
So we're on 812. Did you see 811? We'll go.
Oh, did I jump one? Sorry, I did.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a bad night. Okay, so 8.11 is the application to lift a holding zone submitted by William J. Gees Construction. Susanna?
Thank you. Yes, so this is an application. The Gees property, the Gees subdivision, I'm imagining council will be familiar with, is a plan of subdivision in Milverton. The legal description is in the planning report. It's part of Lot 9 in Concession 3 and part Lot 73 of Registered Plan 363 in the geographic township of Mornington. So the request to lift the holding zone is the holding zone remains on phase 3 of this plan of subdivision. And you have correspondence in your package from Andrew Head, who's the consultant acting for the developer, who is requesting at this point that the holding zone be lifted. The holding zone is at the moment is phase 3 includes 59 single detached dwellings and 24 semi-detached dwellings. And this area is approximately 34 acres. The property was zoned for residential in February 2015, and then subsequently it was amended in February 2020 to permit some of the lots to be used for medium density residential use, and those are the semi-detached dwellings. A holding zone was placed on the property in 2015 to specifically require that the necessary financial securities and parkland fees be paid to the township in accordance with a subdivision agreement prior to the holding zone being lifted and those lands being developed. So staff have confirmed that those securities and fees have now been paid, and the planning department is satisfied that the requirements for the lifting of the holding zone have been met and recommends that council proceed to remove the holding zone from the subject land.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. Any questions for Susanna on this? No questions, okay. The Council of Township of Perth East received a report dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the planner entitled Z25-2021, application to lift a holding zone submitted by William J. Geese Construction Limited, affecting lands described as part of Lot 9, Concession 3, Part Lot 73, Registered Plan 363, Geographic Township of Mornington. Phase 3 of the County of Perth Plan of Subdivision, File PE 14-01, that Council approved, Bylaw 225-2021, lifting the holding zone affecting the lands described as part of Lot 9 and part of Lot 73, Concession 3, Geographic Township of Mornington, Registered Plan 363, Phase 3 of County of Perth Plan of Subdivision, File PE 14-01. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Andrew. Second by Daryl. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Okay, now we're ready to move on to application for an amendment to the county official plan, 8.1.2. Susanna?
Thank you very much. So these are the planning comments for the official plan amendment public meeting that was held earlier today. And I think that Carolyn Baker provided a very good overview of the planning comments that were provided in the planning justification report. As Carolyn mentioned, there was also an environmental noise impact assessment prepared to support this application. The noise impact assessment concludes that the proposed development meets the requirements of 50 decibels at all of the neighboring residential dwellings. As I mentioned earlier, the property is subject to site plan control, so we'll be reviewing the site plan application along with the building department and the fire chief. And again, this application is for an amendment to the county official plan in order to allow home industrial use on the subject property east of Millbank. And that home industrial use then is limited to the packaging of hay, agricultural products, has limited to 430 square meters and has a maximum of 1 offsite employee. So the report is in your package and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions from members of council? No questions. Okay, that the Council of the Township of Perth East received a report entitled Application for County Official Plan Amendment number 176 by Samuel and Mary Zaire, affecting lands described as Part Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R 1409. 3942, line 72, Millbank, Township of Perth East, prepared by the planner for information, and that council recommend to the County of Perth Council to approve the application for an official plan amendment number 196 by Sam and Mary Zaire, affecting lands described as Part Lot 18, Concession 7, Mornington, Part 2, 44R 1409, 3942, line 72, Millbank, Township of Perth East. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have nothing from the CAO. Now we're going to move to the clerk, and we have the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and we have some guests with us tonight to go over the plan with us. We have Kim McElroy and Chief Skinner were the co-chairs of this committee, so I will let them introduce who you brought with us, and the floor is yours to give your presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm just going to have Janine queue up our PowerPoint, and then we'll get started. Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for giving us some time on your agenda today to present you with the final version of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for the Perth County Partnership Municipalities and Councils. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Greg Skinner, the Chief of Police for the Stratford Police Service. And joining me as part of this presentation team are Kim McElroy, Director of Social Services for Stratford, Perth County, and St. Mary's, Acting Inspector Dave Cinco, Detachment Commander for Perth County OPP, Tracy Farmer, Lead Consultant on this project from DPRA Consultants, and Janine Fast, Housing Stability Policy and Program Coordinator with Social Services. I hope you've had some time to review the documents we provided in advance, but if not, I hope that this overview today provides you with the information you need to adopt this plan for your municipality. The intention of today's presentation is to briefly provide you with a broad overview of the why and how of the legislative requirement for each municipality to have a community safety and well-being plan, and the extensive public and stakeholder consultations that informed the consultants to identify the priority areas, determine the goals and objectives at a high level, and then look at our next steps as we implement the plan. Items number 4 and 5 on the screen above is where we will be focusing today. And now to talk about the background, I'll turn it over to Inspector Cinco.
Good evening, everyone. Each municipality is required through legislation to have a community safety and well-being plan approved and adopted by July 1st, 2021. I have been impressed with the cooperation at the municipal government level as all 6 municipalities in Perth County partnered to commit to one plan. That is no easy task at the best of times, but Tracy and her team at DPRA were able to very professionally navigate the challenges presented by a global pandemic to produce a document that recognizes the similarities and the differences among the communities represented by the partner municipalities and build in the flexibility in the plan that can meet the diversity of needs across the county. The purpose of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is not to recreate the wheel. Each of your municipalities individually and collectively have incredible people performing amazing work to support your communities. The purpose of this plan is to be the overarching plan that coordinates those activities happening now, leverages existing resources, shares best practices, and identifies and addresses any gaps in service delivery. We live in a fast-paced world where issues come at us from all directions, and it is easy to get pulled into the weeds and get stuck in paralysis by analysis. The intent of this plan is to provide a strategic, coordinated effort where complex community issues are addressed holistically, ensuring that resources are provided effectively, efficiently, and consistently, with the community knowing what resources are available, how to access them, and what services they can expect to be provided. This graph demonstrates the 4 levels of intervention to community issues. Incident response is expensive. That is where resources including police, fire, ambulance, social services, hospitals, and emergency rooms are required to deal with people in potential crisis situations. This plan focuses primarily on the other 3 levels in order to reduce the calls for service and reduce the risk to our communities. The more initiatives we can implement that are focused on social development, prevention, and risk intervention, the greater impact we can have on our communities. Some examples of programs that have had a very positive impact include the Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team model. We're taking the services to the street and to the people who need them, but struggle to access them, are served better and result in less in the way of expensive incident response. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Kim to discuss how we created the roadmap.
Good evening. The stakeholders listed above provided DPRA with their advice, guidance, and local experience in developing the research and survey tools to ensure the right organizations and individuals were contacted to contribute to this plan. The advisory committee meetings provided the opportunity for the leadership positions who have the ability to make decisions and are authorized to allocate resources, including funding from existing budgets, to come together for a common purpose. It is this structure at the senior leadership level that will model the participation of the action groups to inform the executive leadership team. The plan is guided by the following principles: respect, equity, collaboration, inclusion, commitment, and compassion. As you can appreciate, there is a lot of existing information that needed to be reviewed to ensure that the goals and objectives of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan aligned with the existing strategic plans of your municipality and supported the goals that you want to achieve as council. All of the information obtained from that research and consultations were built into this plan. Stakeholder engagement is the key to this plan being successfully accepted by our communities to address the diverse needs of each of our municipalities. The next few slides will provide an overview of the efforts that were used to reach out to the community and provide them an opportunity to participate so they could have their input into the priorities, objectives, and goals of this plan. A comprehensive online survey was conducted with significant efforts being made to get the public to complete the surveys. In the end, an impressive 1,078 surveys were completed with the proportion by municipality outlined here. In addition to the surveys, a number of facilitated discussions and one-on-one interviews were held. A total of 91 people participated in these sessions. The last component of the stakeholder engagement sessions focused on those with lived experience. I think we all recognize that until we've walked a mile in another person's shoes, we really don't know what challenges they have faced along the way. Those with lived experiences have a unique perspective, one that the consultants went to great lengths to ensure was included in this engagement process. Because if we don't know our consumer, then the delivery of our service won't meet their needs, whether that is the delivery of programs for our seniors, for our youth, or support for those suffering from mental health and addiction issues. These engagement sessions did not take place as originally planned, as the work plan for this project predated the pandemic. Workarounds had to be implemented. Regardless, because of the consistent messaging we heard throughout the engagement process, we are confident that the priorities identified will have the most positive impact in our communities. And now I will let Chief Skinner share with you the consultation findings.
So what did we hear from those consultations? We heard that for all residents to feel safe and physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy, their basic needs must be met. We heard that safety and well-being means residents feel they belong, they are welcome, they are respected, and they are connected to others in their community. We heard that there are vulnerable individuals and families in our communities who need additional help to enhance the quality of their lives. We heard that there are many excellent social, health, and recreational leisure programs and services available to residents in and across the 6 partner municipalities. And we heard that not all residents are able to access those services and supports that they need, when they need them, and where they need them. The survey responses of all of the communities indicated that the access to healthcare services was the #1 priority to support community safety and well-being. Stratford's and St. Mary's both had adequate and affordable housing as their #2 priority, while Northwest and South Perth respondents identified other community safety and security issues as their #2 priority. This catch-all includes police visibility and enforcement strategies as a deterrent to criminal activity and traffic-related issues. Perth East respondents identified recreational activity opportunities as their #2 priority. This plan takes into account the similarities and differences in these identified priorities, enabling each municipality to put programs and services in place to meet their specific community's needs. The facilitated focus groups and one-on-one discussions identified similar priorities, but in more detail, as you'll see the 9 of them listed above. As we said earlier in the presentation, the intent of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is to leverage the great work being done already and support the implementation of programs on a go forward that addresses any gaps in service delivery. We identified some of the ongoing committees and initiatives that are in place supporting some of the priorities identified, which this plan will rely on to inform our future coordinated efforts. I'll now turn it over to Inspector Cinco, who will review the 4 priority areas in the plan.
So all of the research, consultations with stakeholders, and engagement with the public culminated in the identification of 4 priority areas that will focus the work and contributions to community safety and well-being. Priority area number 1, we titled Systems, Planning, and Integration, with the first goal being to improve knowledge of and access to programs, services, supports, and resources. What became apparent during the engagement sessions was that people either didn't know what programs were available in their community or how to access the programs that did exist. More creative and persistent communication initiatives will better position the people to access and utilize the supports already in place and better identify any gaps. Goal number 2 under this priority is focused on police visibility and more subject matter experts on patrol or readily accessible to police as a deterrent to negative behavior in our communities. And of course, major event planning and preparedness was identified in response to the efforts being put in place to keep our communities safe and healthy during this global pandemic. Priority area number 2 is adequate, affordable, and attainable housing. The goal of this area is to increase the availability and accessibility of affordable, safe, and suitable housing by supporting the strategic objectives of our area's updated housing and homelessness plan. Priority area number 3 is affordable and accessible health, social, and recreation services. Goals include improving the availability and accessibility to healthcare services by supporting healthcare partners in their work and improving knowledge and awareness of crisis response triage options. And the third goal under this priority is to increase the availability of affordable transportation options and support the efforts that are currently underway. And priority area number 4, social inclusion. Goals include increasing the application of equity, diversity, and inclusion practices across all partner agencies and promote understanding of the diverse groups and populations that live in our communities. And the final goal under this area is to enhance our residents' sense of community belonging by creating and maintaining safe and welcoming public spaces and increasing access to community events and activities for everyone. And at this time, I'll pass it back to Kim to share what happens next.
So after Council's adoption of this plan as the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, the next step will be the implementation. One of the things I've consistently heard when dealing with members of the public is that we may be aware of the issues plaguing our communities, but nobody is doing anything about it, and some with lived experiences feel that nobody cares about them. Nothing could be further from reality, but it speaks to the need for more communication. A big part of the initial phase of the implementation plan will be a comprehensive communication strategy to inform rollout of the plan to the public, providing ongoing updates of the enhancements being made to our collective service delivery efforts to demonstrate to the public that this plan is not sitting on a shelf. The public has high expectations of its politicians and municipal employees. In order to maintain trust and support from our constituents, we need to do a better job of letting the public know what we are doing, what we hope to achieve, and how they can be part of the solution. The strategic engagement approach to our community safety and well-being plan recognizes the strengths that already exist within and across municipalities and organizations, enhances effectiveness by creating more strategically aligned and formalized alliances, and helps to improve integration, enhances capacity, reduce duplication, and promotes coordination and collaboration. The community safety and well-being plans are meant to bring those with individual mandates together as partners to find new creative ways to deal with the local issues and explore options. The concept of team facilitates the potential for the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts. Coordination of resources, sharing of information, integrated approach to problem solving, less duplication, and greater efficiencies are all benefits of collaboration, and the community as a whole benefits when organizational leaders can model the way by thinking beyond their own mandates and how decisions may affect the environment of others. Slide 30 speaks to the governance structure. And this governance structure provides guidance, direction, and oversight to the plan and has been subject to significant discussion. For the implementation of the plan, the decision was made to delineate the executive leadership as those who are legislatively bound to have this plan in place and have participated as funding partners to create the plan, thus having broad responsibility for their individual community safety and well-being. So each partner municipality will have a seat at the executive leadership team, with the police and social services participating as co-chairs and resources to the executive leadership team. The voting rights are reserved for the representatives of the municipalities. The Key Stakeholder Committee consists of the leadership of those existing agencies and organizations whose mandates are aligned with the goals and objectives of the plan. The action groups is where the heavy lifting will take place, and there's flexibility to align the action groups based on geography, priority, or an already existing committee. The plan will leverage existing committees, and the first implementation step for the plan will be to conduct a survey of all the existing committees in Perth County, review their mandates and the programs they have in place currently. We will then begin the process of bringing the leadership from like-minded action groups together for greater clarity on what exists and how those committees are interacting currently. The Partnership Council has different responsibilities. The responsibilities of the Partnership Council will be to implement the plan, identify linkages between programs and services, and enhance coordination among and between municipalities and service providers. It will be the responsibility of the Partnership Council to determine how frequently to report back to the individual municipal councils, determine the annual budget allocations that will go before each council, and provide operational support to the plan. The Partnership Council will have final decision-making over the structure of the plan. We anticipate that there will be a report back expectation to the Ministry of Solicitor General, although this has not been clarified yet, and the Partnership Council will have this responsibility as well. The action groups will be the conduit of this plan to the community. These groups will be the backbone of the plan and will provide the means to where creativity, innovation, and problem-solving acumen will have the most impact on our communities. Communication, cooperation, collaboration, and commitment will be the key to the success of this plan. I will now let Chief Skinner conclude this presentation.
Once all of the partner councils have reviewed, approved, and adopted the plan through resolution, then the implementation plan can be put into action. The last of the presentations to individual councils happens on May 25th. And assuming all adopt the plan, then the next steps will be to 1, convene the Partnership Council and formalize the implementation plan in terms of reference. 2, identify action groups and inventory their individual mandates, composition, priorities, goals, objectives, and accomplishments to date. 3, develop performance measurement and evaluation tools for the purpose of focus and report back. And most importantly, establish a communication strategy to publicly introduce the plan. Just a couple of final thoughts before we open it up to questions. I want to commend Tracy and her team from DPRA for being able to complete this plan during a pandemic. I don't know if any of us truly appreciate the challenges that her team faced in engaging the public and key stakeholders during a period of community lockdowns, video conferencing, and competing priorities for municipal and corporate leaders. Thank you, Tracy, to you and your team. Also, I want to congratulate your municipality on the commitment of your staff throughout this process. We recognize that each municipality has its individual needs, and in no way, shape, or form is this plan an attempt to impose its priorities on your community. This is not a zero-sum game. This is about bringing people and committees together and to understand the diverse issues, broaden the impact of successes already achieved, and leverage the knowledge and commitment of existing committees, and in so doing, provide you as elected representatives with the information you need to satisfy yourselves and your constituents that progress is being made to make your community safer and enhance your community members' quality of life. And that is the conclusion of our presentation, and our team would be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Daryl?
Hey, yeah, they're good. Thanks, guys. No, it's interesting reading this. A couple parts here right off the hop. So at County Council, we have a report from Economic Development. Our small businesses in particular, 280 polled. And out of those 280 polled, basically it comes to 60% of the have been really, really hurt, you know, with the COVID crisis and these lockdowns. It's tough, eh? This is very broad. Nobody's alone in this. You know, I'll tell you another quick story. So I just had the insurance on my dump truck pulled for the second time in 2 years. Nobody wants to carry me. No reason. I have a great record. These are the things that are going on. It doesn't matter if you own business or the needy. It's everywhere. And expenses are creeping in on everybody. Our transit in particular, we're going to be out of money on that Connect system before you know it. And it's a lot of money to keep going. So I'm just going to put that out there. And one final thing, do we ever get the church groups involved with this? You know, traditionally the church community was always very strong with people in need, and anymore we just avoid them almost like the plague, and it's upsetting. But I would just wish they were a little more involved. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Yes, through your worship, I can make a couple of comments to the councillors' comments. First of all, we appreciate how difficult the last year and a half has been on all of our community members. This has been a unique set of challenging circumstances, and while some businesses have flourished and some people are making money during this, the vast majority are not, and certainly the vast majority in our municipalities are struggling. And I was, you know, throughout the process of the public engagement sessions with the different communities for the purposes of this plan, I was amazed at how much people wanted to help others. We have a true community spirit in Perth County, and people want to find ways to be able to help each other. Those that can help want to help, and they're struggling to find ways to help given the fact that we have to social distance, we have to stay at home, we have all of the shutdowns in place. And part of our challenge, I think, as community leaders is to find ways to allow people who can help to actually help. And the churches are a great example of those that are finding creative and innovative ways to help the vulnerable communities or vulnerable people in our communities and provide them with the basic day-to-day life's needs that they have now. Mental health, addiction, self-harm, family violence, domestic violence. These are all things that the police, the Stratford Police and the OPP are dealing with at alarming rates. And we need to come together as a community, and we see the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan as part of that strategic direction for Perth County to focus existing resources. We don't want to spend more money. We want to focus existing resources that are being spent to make sure that we have the most efficient and effective programs in place that benefit everybody in the county, not just piecemeal it across the county.
Okay, anyone else with questions? No? Okay, I want to thank the presenters. I want to thank all 5 of you who have been involved, and also Ashley has been our representative of Perth East, and you've done a wonderful job of this committee. I know it was a lot of work. You just have spent a lot of time at it, and we thank you for that, and we look forward to starting to implement some of it and go from there. So thanks again for coming tonight. We do have a motion here that we will read here that the Council of the Township of Perth East received the report entitled Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the clerk for information, and that the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan 2021 to 2024 be adopted by the Township of Perth East and forwarded to the Ministry of Solicitor General as required by the Police Services Act 1990. And that additional resources to implement and sustain the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan as outlined in the report be referred to the 2022 budget process. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? Hugh?
Yeah, I can appreciate all the work everybody has done on this, but it still looks like we're being downloaded on from the province to provide more services. And I just hope that this does not create another bureaucracy that will churn out endless paperwork or be made to turn out endless paperwork. So I hope that everything goes well. That's all.
Okay, anyone else, comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks again for joining us. You're quite welcome to stay, or if you have other things you need to do this evening, we understand that if you want to leave. So thanks again, and we'll move on in our agenda.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
You're welcome. Good night. Okay, so let me get to my bearings here. We have nothing from finance. We have Public Works, Federal Gas Tax, Allocation, Paving of Line 33. Wes?
Good evening. At the last council meeting, council approved the one-time gas tax money to be spent on paving line 33. We talked to the county to see if we could piggyback on with their contract, and they said we could. I spoke also with the contractor and to make sure that they could actually do the work for us, and it looks like everything is in place. That's all I have to add.
Okay, thanks, Wes. Any questions for Wes? Daryl?
No, good. Thanks there. That's good news. So you were able to get your cross drains in and tidying up the shoulders. That's all good now, Wes. And is it? I didn't know if you needed another year for that.
So we're planning on starting that in sometime in end of July. We're going to put a bunch more gravel on. There's some ditching that needs to be done. There's a couple of spots that we're going to change some of the hills a little bit, just make the curves a little easier too as well when it's coming down onto the Road 107. We're planning on changing the elevation there a little bit, but we should be able to make everything work out.
Okay, Hugh?
Yeah, Wes, do you have any kind of a timeline on when you think the paving would be done or anything like that?
We're looking into August, sometime middle of August is tentative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Andrew?
No, thanks for the report. So August, and what will this do to our budget? Because this is allocated for next year. What do we expect to see? Obviously, the gas tax money, will we have to pull that ahead, and next year will be just as we're for budgetary process. How would that work, Wes? Thanks.
So the money will just be coming out of our capital budget. So for next year, probably in our capital forecast, we will just probably move everything either ahead a year or take a look at it, and we can make some changes at that time.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Federal Gas Tax Fund Allocation, Paving of Line 33 dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that confirmed by this resolution, the paving of Line 33 between Perth Road 107 and Perth Oxford Road shall be awarded to Brantco Construction. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Daryl. Second by Andrew. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else, Wes?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nothing from building. Then we'll move to Recreation and Community Services, investing in Canada's infrastructure. Becky, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As council will remember that we received $100,000 from ICIP. It's a COVID-19 stream. We were putting that towards hands-free modification at the perk, which includes plumbing, electrical, and a hands-free door opening. This is a portion of the plumbing and the quotes that were received, and require council's approval.
Okay, any questions on this report for Becky? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the ICIP grant hands-free modification project RFQ approval report prepared by the Recreation and Community Services Manager dated May 18, 2021 for information. That council award the ICIP grant hands-free modification plumbing project to Turner Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $62,465 plus tax. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Hugh. Second by Jeremy. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and Becky's second report is Healthy Community Initiative application. Becky?
Yes, so there's a grant that has become available. It's Canada Healthy Communities Initiative. This is the second round of, I think it was about 30 million invested by the government of Canada. And basically what the grant is as a result of COVID, they have identified that open spaces are invaluable to communities, and the need for physical activity and play has been identified across Canada, that it's an important thing. And this is the basis of the initiative. So there are 3 initiative themes for this grant. One that we would be applying for this particular project would be safe and vibrant public spaces. The other 2 is mobility. So that would be like trails and that sort of thing. And then also digital solutions are the other themes. So the applications for the community projects are to create and adapt public spaces or programming and services for public spaces, and that these public places will meet public health guidelines. Those are the types of projects that would be considered. So given the tremendous growth that the community here in Milverton has in the past few years, Wes and I had identified that Greener Park revitalization would be an excellent initiative for this funding. And given the components for the project, it would contribute to building community, providing a safe environment for play, engaging the community, because that's part of it, is to engage the community as far as design and development of the project, and then also contribute to economic development. The deadline for the application is June 25th. We're only allowed to apply for one grant. The maximum is $250,000, and you can ask for that entire amount. And if needed, we certainly would be looking to seek additional funding, like from Lions Club, to partner with, and any community funding that we could make to help get that project underway. And that's it, if there's any questions.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Any questions for Becky? Andrew?
Just in case anybody didn't see the email train, I just had a few questions. If there's any other projects considered for this funding. I know there's some other areas of the township who have shovel-ready items that could use assistance, and they're also outside. Just asking if there's any other areas considered.
The objectives of the grant itself seem to gear towards the project that we did select. The other projects were just didn't have that extra components to it of things that the grant was actually looking for.
Andrew?
A follow-up. So if sports isn't part of it, is it specifically walking trails? I didn't see the parameters, so I can't really say.
No, not necessarily, but it's more to like a public place where everyone can join and engage in and that sort of thing. If you're referring to the skateboard park, it could possibly, but I think this one is a better fit for it. My last discussions with the Shakespeare Optimist Club was that they were wanting to use the funds if they sell their lots, that would pay for their the skateboard park, is what I'm understanding for that, if that's what you're referring to, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
Last term, Shakespeare Athletics came to council and we gave them a little bit of money. They had almost $300,000 worth of work to do. I'm sure they're about a third of the way into that, with COVID now kind of knocking their funding out of that. I would have expected something like that might have been on the radar. Again, it's an outdoor pursuit and well used. I'm just, maybe it doesn't fit the parameters, but yeah, I have some concerns about putting it all into one project. So that's why I'm asking if we've considered any, or we can break it up into other projects.
No, it can only be one project in the community.
So what would be a strategy to make sure that the funding we're receiving lately from various COVID is spread out for recreation throughout the township? I see one of the, I should probably leave these comments for the question, but I'll just throw it out there that those other communities that have grown substantially in the last decade. I know one in the southern end has produced 80 extra houses and contributes greatly to the assessment that pays for a lot of these things, and could probably use some support sooner rather than later. So I guess if this one is, there's no funding opportunity because it's one project, but I don't think we can lose sight of that. And would hope that there'd be some just gone through community well-being exercise. And I think that if I can never hear that one community gets everything over another from my perspective as a Southern councillor, that would make me quite happy. So that's kind of my goal. So I would just throw that out there, that we need to work on that if at all possible. Strategizing how to bring that to happen. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? So we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the Healthy Communities Grant Application Report dated May 18, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Recreation and Community Services and the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that Council directs staff to apply for 100% funding from the Healthy Communities Grant for the Greenwood Park Revitalization Project. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? Amanda?
Yeah, just a question. Becky, I know you were talking about the sort of parameters. Is there, I'm guessing it's like a bit of a point system in terms of what the criteria is, and like what's the chances of us getting like 100% funding should this go forward, or it's hard to really say?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they score everything and whether or not you get 100%. I don't know. We either get it or we don't, I believe. I don't think that if you're I think if you're asking for the whole amount, that you either get the whole amount or you don't get it. So if you're asking for $50,000, you know, yeah.
Amanda?
Just a again, another sort of follow-up, sort of around the basis of some of Andrew's questioning. In the criteria, does it sort of specify that needs to be around a certain population number or anything like that in terms of, because we have such a big township, if there was other areas in the township considered, I guess. Anyways, I was just sort of curious on that front, if that was part of the criteria or not.
No, it didn't specifically have that. There were a lot of comments in the paper, though, that was more directed at cities, and so I honestly think that that's what their gear is, or what they're aiming for. So, like, you know, in downtown Toronto, where no one has a backyard, they're wanting you to create spaces in there. So I'm gonna guess that those types of projects in the big cities that don't have, or not everybody has a backyard, that's where they're gonna gear a lot of their money. But I'm totally just guessing that.
Okay, Andrew? You're muted, Andrew.
There we go. Click mouse again. So I don't want to ask a question after the questions on the floor, but so it sounds like the costs aren't known, and we're shooting for the maximum amount to hopefully do a lot of this is what I'm understanding. If we don't, I'm hoping that we only build what we can with the money we get, should this pass. Again, we have to be very careful about the political optics of this. We need to make sure that some of this funding is going to go to other communities. I probably won't vote for this just because it's all going to one community. You know, we've tried to build up the community this project's going to go in by putting public money into bringing gas, and I've supported that, and there's a good reason to support that. But it wasn't to have more amenities. I think that we need to play catch up on the amenities based on assessment. we're looking at almost $1 million worth of recreational amenities, including the library in this community. And I think it's time to catch up. I think it's a lot on the taxes every year to support this. So yeah, we need to keep this in focus as a group to try and bring the entire township together. And that's my goal, is to bring the entire township together. Thank you.
Just a comment that we do have a budget for it, so it's not like we're just asking for 250 and going to go for it. We definitely have to have a budget for the application process as well.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Anyone else with questions before we call the vote? No? Okay. All in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carried. Thank you. Opposed? Okay, carried. All right, now we move to fire. Nothing from fire. Then we go to correspondence. We do have one item from correspondence from Steve Baker. He's the manager of the Neighborhood Credit Union in Shakespeare. What would you like to do with the correspondence? Andrew?
I guess we're going to need a staff report on this. It seems there's some learning to do.
Okay, so we refer it back to staff. So a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Steve Baker, Manager Facilities, your Neighborhood Credit Union, received May 4th, 2021, regarding township land used to access parking lot at 3997 Highway 107 Shakespeare, your Neighborhood Credit Union, for information, and that we refer it back to staff for a report. So do you want to move that, Andrew? Moved by Andrew, second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move to council and committee reports. There's no mayor's log. Does anyone have a report that they wish to bring forward at this time? No reports. I do have a couple things from the county. The county has hired a new CEMC coordinator, and that is, his name is Dave Clark. And this morning, Teresa, Ashley, Becky, and I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Clark and go over some items with him. He's a very well-educated man, and he's got an awful lot to bring to the county and to all the lower tiers. So we welcome him, and we will bring him to a meeting some night, and everybody can meet him. Very nice guy. Also at the county this year, we've decided, instead of doing our pavement lining, we tendered it out, and we have a tender went out for $163,260, and instead of, we've always done it in-house. And we also purchased a 3/4 ton pickup truck for $43,940 at the county. So I think that's pretty much it for county stuff. Does anybody else have anything else they wish to bring up at this time? If not, we need a motion to accept the verbal reports. Moved by Daryl, second by Jeremy. In favor? Carried. Okay, next we're going to go to bylaws. We have first and second readings of two bylaws. Bylaw 203-2021, and this is to amend Bylaw 30-1999 on part lot 18, concession 7, Mornington Ward. And we also have Bylaw 225-2021, and it's also to amend 30-1999, part of lot 9, concession 3, part lot 73, registered 363, phase 3 of Perth County Division file. So we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. And we have third and final reading of Bylaw 225-2021, It's being a bylaw to amend bylaw 30, 1999, part of lot 9, concession 3, part lot 73, registered plan 363, phase 3 of Perth County subdivision plan file PE 14-01. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have no closed session? Do we have any notice of motions? Nope. Okay, do we have any new business? Any announcements? I guess we want to wish Councillor Smith and his wife Gina a happy 30th wedding anniversary. That's for Darius tonight. Gina overruled our council. How about that? Okay, confirmation bylaw. We have bylaw number 28-2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on May 18, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. And a motion to adjourn our Perth East Council meeting at 8:36. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Great, everyone. Good to see everybody. My apologies for my little bloopers, but anyway, what I say, always say, whatever happens, happens, and it happened tonight. So